Okay, so let's have a recap of whatever we studied yesterday, and then we'll start with today's topic. So yesterday we started with topics like, first of all, the topic was variables and data types. So what is a variable? Variable is something which can store a varying data, which whose value can change, right? Then we discussed about different data types, and then we came to know that there are two types of data type. One is primitive and second is non-primitive. Primitive is something which Java has as predefined. Like there are 8 primitive data types: int, byte, short, long. These are 4 types of integer data type. How they vary? They vary upon the size of data we have, data we can store in them. Okay. Then after these 4 data types, we discussed about 2 decimal type. One is float and second is double. Again, the difference between two is uh, number of digits after decimal we can store. After that, the next 7th data type which we discussed was character. For character we use a word called char, and when we use character, then what we can store in it is a single character. It can be any character, any number, any digit, anything can be stored in a single character. Then next we started with after data types, next we started with uh, operators. So in operators we started with the arithmetic operator, and in arithmetic operator we studied about plus, minus, multiply, divide. Okay, so there were couple of assignments which I gave on this, and there will be many more assignments which I'll be sharing today evening or maybe tomorrow morning. Okay, then we started with the, like, after completing the operators we started with conditional statements. So we discussed about if else condition, the nested if else condition. Okay, yeah. So these were few things which we discussed, and after this class today I'll also discuss the solution of the assignments which I gave, because this is what I have found is whosoever has reverted with the assignment has missed some of the conditions. So probably I'll discuss the exact solution of all the assignments, especially the last one, which was to verify whether a given year is a leap year or not. Okay, so after the class I'll be doing that. And then we also discussed about the switch case statement. So in case of switch case statement, what was the syntax? That you will write something like this: switch, then in the bracket you will write a pattern, and the value of this pattern matches with any one of the case, that case will be executed. What is the purpose of putting break here? If you'll not put break, then whatever will be the value of this my variable. Okay. Oh, just a second, I forget to share my screen, my bad. Is it visible now? Okay, sorry. So yeah, in the switch case statement, we have this switch, and in its key here we pass one pattern. Okay, and the matching case of this pattern will be executed. Like here in this particular example, I've defined one string variable with name myvar. I can assign any value to this myvar, and when I'm passing here, then uh, there are multiple cases available: sun, sat, fry, and so on. So when I passed any one of the variable, any one of the value to this variable, like here I'm passing FRI, then this is executed. So what is the purpose of break? If you'll remove this break from here, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just replacing this break with empty value, and when I execute the same scenario, you can observe that everything after that matching node is executed. So you can see that after this FRI, everything is executed, right? So Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, not a correct day. Okay, so why? If you don't have a break, then whatever case matches after that, whatever command is written, everything will get executed. That's how switch works. So just to execute one single case, what we do, uh, we put break. Okay, now in this case, what will happen? As soon as this matches with this case. Okay, it executes whatever is written in that case. After that, it encounters next statement as break, and it will come out of the switch case statement. Okay, I can show you by running it in debug mode as well. Okay, so if I run it, right click, run as Java application, you can, okay, my bad, I should have run it as debug as Java application. So it's in debug mode now, and you can see that my var variable has a fry in it. The value is fri, and my code is here. So if I hover over this my var, you will see that the value is fri. Okay, now if I execute the code, you can see that it has reached to its statement. Okay, next it will execute this statement. Now it is at break. As soon as I press next step over, it will come out of the code. Okay, so that's how it works. Now same code, if I go back and remove all the breaks, okay, if I remove all the breaks, and now if I'll run it in debug mode, then you will observe that currently I'm here. As soon as I press F6, it reaches to one of the matching case, executed that. Now once I execute, see, it is executing the next one as well, because as soon as one of the condition gets true, it executes everything after that. So we have not written any break statement, so it is not coming out of the switch case. And as soon as you'll start executing it, it will keep on executing each and every statement of the case. I resume it, everything is executed. I'll go back, and here is the switch case statement. Okay, so any questions here? Yes, Anil.
Saurabh?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
Anil.
hello?
Yeah, Anil.
Yeah, in this case statement, you said you have to give a break for it to come out, right? For
Yeah.
that condition to stop.
Yeah, if you want only one of the case to execute, not all after matching, then you have to put a break. What break do is, it's a keyword. As soon as it encounters, wherever you have put, like in the curly braces, like here in the curly braces, I have this break, it will come out of
Mhm.
that curly braces. So that's how it works.
But then don't you need to execute every condition in the case?
If
Isn't that how it works? I don't know, I'm
uh,
just asking.
okay, so here there are two things. Like there can be two requirements for you. One requirement can be that in switch case statement, out of multiple cases, I just want to execute one. This can be one requirement. And second requirement can be as soon as one of the case match, execute everything after that. Okay. So it's like you're waiting for some condition to get true. After that, everything must be executed. Okay. So this
Okay,
can
so the break will only come into effect when the condition is true, isn't it? And then it comes out.
break will come into effect if you want only one case to be executed. Like here I just want this case to be executed, nothing else. Okay. In this case,
Mhm.
if I put a break here, then as soon as this condition gets true, after that this statement will execute. After that it will come to this statement, break. As soon as it comes to
Okay,
this break, it will come out of this switch and will take you out. Okay, so this is
all
one
right.
one requirement. Second requirement is when you want that if any one of the case matches, I want to execute everything. Let's say uh, my Thursday is matching. So as soon as Thursday matches, for see, this will not match, this will not match, this will not match. As soon as this case matches, it executes this statement. After that, there is no break. It will execute the next statement as well, and so on. So you like if break is not there, then it will execute all the statements. Okay, and
All right. Okay.
in real time, many a times you will encounter a situation where you want one condition to get true. After that, you want to do execute everything. Okay, so probably that time it will be more clear, but for now you can remember, if you want only one case to be executed, then put a break in every case, which is the most used one. The other one is when you want everything to be executed as soon as one of your condition is getting true.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what switch case statement is. Moving ahead, in this key, I am saying you can pass anything. Like here, currently I have passed a single string value. You can pass a combination of string. You can pass an arithmetic expression here. You can pass an algebraic value. Anything you can pass. Like if you look at here, in this switch case statement, in the switch I have an arithmetic expression being passed, x plus y. So x is some value, y is some value. The combination of two matches with one of the case. Like here you can see x is 9, y is 7. So 9 plus 7 is 16. So this case is matching, and as this case matches, this statement will execute. Okay. So it depends on whatever you want. You can put anything here. Whatever value you'll pass at this, same matching node will be executed. So that's how it works. Any questions here? I'll give you some assignments across switch case statement. Probably then you can practice it more. Okay. So moving ahead, the next topic which I have to cover here is looping statement. So I'll start with the first loop, and that is for loop. Okay, so why you need for loop or any loop? First of all, let's discuss that. Okay, so if let's say my requirement is that print something like this. My requirement was print this. What it is? It is I want to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 at symbol I want to print. Okay, it's a simple pattern, so you can simply put it in like you can just copy it and put it in sys, I mean system.out.println, and you can put this. Once you'll execute this code, you will see that whatever you asked is printed. Now just imagine that you want to print some pattern, and that pattern is something which is uh, not just straightforward. Okay, let's say you want to print a pattern which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the requirement is you want to print it till nth number. Or same is the case here, you want to print this at symbol but till an nth digit. Okay, if you have such a requirement where you have some kind of pattern and there is a repeatability, then in that case uh, calling methods again and again is not a good idea. In that case, what we do is we use some kind of patterns. Sorry, we use some kind of looping statements. So in Java, we have for loop, we have while loop, and we have do while loop. There are three loops. Currently, I'm starting with the most famous one, that is for loop. So let's talk about this for loop in detail, and then we'll move to while and do while. Okay, so here in this case, as I wanted to print this pattern, I did just copy pasted it and it was done. But the requirement is that I just pass a number and that many number of at symbols should be printed. Let's say if I pass 7, 7 at symbols should be printed. If I pass 12, 12 at symbols should be printed. Okay, so in this case, you will use for loop. What is the syntax? Syntax is I'll put a keyword for, then there will be a round bracket, curly brace start, curly brace end. In this, I'll put int. Int is an integer variable. Create any variable. Let's say I created a variable I equal to 1. Then see, first, like it consists of three parts. This for loop consists of three parts. First part is declaration of a variable. Second part is some condition. You can put any condition. Let's say I want to put a condition less than equal to 10. Okay, and then third I'll put a condition. Then either you decrement or you increment these variables you have defined. I repeat, this for loop, this syntax for this for loop is, here you pass three things. First one is a declaration or initialization. Second one is a condition. And third one is an increment and decrement. Increment or decrement. When I'm passing a condition, okay, like here I'm passing one declaration and initialization. So what I'm doing is I'm telling that this variable, I'm creating a new variable I, and it will have a value as 1. Okay, this in declaration part here, you can see that int I, and the initialization part, that is putting a value 1. It can also be like this declaration can be done outside as well. I can just define this variable outside and put it like this. There is a difference between both. We'll discuss in some time, but let's first discuss for loop. Okay, so is this point clear? That first point is where you will create a new variable. You can say this in simple words. Second is where you'll put a condition. I'm saying execute this code until unless this condition is true. Okay, sorry, execute this code till this condition is true. And the condition is the value of I is less than equal to 10. And third is increment or decrement the value of I. Here I'll simply say system.out.println. Okay, one more thing, I'll just remove this ln. What is this ln? Ln stands for new line. If you remove it, okay, then see, I'll show you both. Let's say I'm keeping ln, and in this I'll put an @ symbol. Okay, when I execute this code, you will see that the code is executed, but everything is printed in verticals. Why? Because after executing this statement, it went to a new line. After every execution, it is moving to a new line. This ln means new line. Okay. Now, if you just remove this ln from the statement and execute this code now, you will see that, okay, let me just comment this out. Okay, when I execute this statement, you can see that it has executed. Okay, and it has executed in not in vertical lines but in horizontal lines. So if you will not put ln, everything it will execute in the same line. Okay. Now, if you can see that the number here, you can see that the number here is 10, 3, 36, 39, and 110. As soon as you change the number and execute it again, you will see that it has executed whatever number you're passing. So we created one pattern here and executing it as many times as you want. Okay. Is it clear that what is the basic syntax of for loop? Okay. Now I'll show you this code in uh, debug mode. So I'll just put a double dot here. Okay. And let's execute this code in debug mode now. Right click, debug as Java application. Okay, see, now I just press F6 here in this case. So as soon as I pressed F6, you can see that a variable is created and it has a name I. Look at the value of I. The value of I is 1. Okay, now if I press F6 again, this statement is executed. Here you can see one @ is printed. Okay, look at the value of I now. I has increased to 2. So there was this statement which executed, that is I++, which made the value of I as 2. Okay, and now if I press this F6 again, another @ symbol is printed. Okay, here you can see the value of I is 2 and another @ is executed. As soon as I press I again, you can see that the value of I is changing to 3. Okay, now if I keep on executing this, you can see that one by one value is incrementing. As soon as value changes, the color here also changes to yellow. Now in this case, every time the condition was true. Now look at this. Uh, Now the value of I is 12. Condition is I less than equal to 12. That means condition is still true. So that means, okay, it executed that and came out of the code. So as soon as the value of I increased to 13, the value of I changed. I mean the condition got false. It came out of the code. And yeah, that's how it executes. Now I'll resume the code and done. So I'll terminate the sessions, come back to Java. So this is how a for loop works. What are the three things? First is initializing the value of I. Second is putting up a condition over it. And third is incrementing or decrementing the value of I. Okay. So as soon till the time this condition is true, this code will execute. As soon as the condition gets false, it will come out of this for loop and uh, yeah, that's how it executes. Any questions? Okay, so let's look at some other things. Let's say I want to print this 1, 2, 3, 4, so on up to nth number. Okay, so for that again I'll copy this for loop, put it here, and this time in the system.out.println, instead of printing this at symbol, as I want the same number, what I'll do, I'll just print I. Okay, and along with this I'll put this extra white space so that numbers can be separated out. Let's see how it executes now. So as okay, one more point here. After this, I'll just print a new line. Okay, if you just execute this system.out.println empty, it will just create a single line for you. See, when I execute it now, you can see that it has created this statement has created a new line, and after that I'm just printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on up to 12. As soon as this value changes, you can do one more thing here. You can create another variable, let's say number. Okay, put it a value, let's say 17, and replace this value with number. Okay, now if I execute this code, you can see till 17 it is executed. Okay, any questions, anyone? Okay, so moving with the next thing, like here we're done with the simple for loop. Let's talk about few more. Let's say you want to execute some other pattern. Maybe you want to execute a pattern like, let me just open it. Let's say you want to execute a pattern like this: star, space star, space star, space star, 5 times, and then like this. You want to print some multi patterns. Some this kind of pattern is you want to execute. And just when I'll tell you the logic, that logic is very important when you will discuss uh, what you call tables in your project, in the frameworks, like whether you're reading from an Excel sheet or whether you're reading from a table of HTML. At that time this logic will help you a lot. Same logic will be using when we'll apply reading from an Excel sheet or reading from a table. Okay, so here I'll start with the multi for loop. Okay, one more thing, let me create a new package for you, day 3. And let me close all of these. I'll move this for loop also from here to here. and we'll delete this. Okay, in this I'll create a new class and I'll call it multi for loop. Okay, we'll keep this public static void main checked. Okay, so in this I'll print out this pattern we have. Here, if you'll observe, we have uh, it's a two-dimensional thing. Here, this is known as rows, like whatever you see horizontally, we call them rows. And when whatever you see vertically, uh, they are, they are columns, right? Okay, so here your rows are also changing and your columns are also changing. So it cannot be done with a single for loop. That's why what I'll do, I'll define a variable I for my rows and I'll define a variable j for columns. Okay, so this will be rows and this will be columns for me. Okay, so first for loop, you'll apply, let's say, I want number of rows as 5 and I want number of columns as again 5 or maybe 6. Okay, so I want 5 rows and I want 6 columns. So I'll start a for loop int I. This will handle rows. It will start from 1 and will go up to I'll put a condition that let's go up to less than equal to number of rows. Sorry, number of row. Then I'll say I plus plus increment I by 1. Okay, why it is giving an error? Variable name was different. Okay, so this will be my for loop. Now next I'll start another loop inside it. I'll say int j equal to 1 and j less than equal to number of column j plus plus. Okay. Inside this I'll say system.out.println print a star with a white space. Okay, now how it will work? You have defined one variable I. Okay, I will be the row. It will start from 1 and will go up to number of rows. So let's say for the first execution, for the first iteration, the value of I is 1. Okay, and then in when the value of I is 1, what will happen? It will go to this for loop. It will start executing this for loop. Okay, and then in this the value of j is here, this, it changes from 1 to how many, this value of I changes from 1 to number of columns. Okay, number of columns are 6. Okay, so it will execute this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, this, and so on. One by one it will execute this particular for loop. How many times? 6 times. Okay, once all the 6 times this for loop will be executed, it will come out, the value of I will change to 2. Okay, but here we want one more thing. As soon as this complete row is printed, I want a new line. So what I'll do after this for loop, I'll simply put a simple statement which will generate a new line. Okay, when I execute this code, you can see that whatever pattern, okay, I did something wrong. Okay, this is the thing I've done wrong. Now I'll execute it again. You can see the pattern which you expected is printed. Look at the number of rows. Number of rows are 5. Look at the number of columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is the number of columns. Okay. Now I know it will be not much clear. What I'll do, I'll run it in debug mode now. Okay. So I'll just put a double quote. I mean, just put a breakpoint here. And now I'll execute this code in debug mode. Right click, debug as Java application. You can see that this code has executed and is waiting here now. Look at the number variables. So the variables is number of rows is 5, number of column is 6. Okay, so this is 5, this is 6. When I execute this code, I press F5. You can see another variable is created with name I, and the value of I is 1. As soon as I press F6 again, you can see another variable is created which is j, and the value of j is 1. Now look at how it works. See, I press F6, a star is printed, and this j was incremented by 1. It went ahead back to this for statement. Now it will increment j by 1. You can see here the value of j is changed to 2. Look at the condition. Is j is, see, the j is 2, number of columns is 6, that means 2 is less than equal to 6, condition is still true. I can execute this. As soon as I execute next, the value of j changes to 3. Here you can see the number of column is 6, this condition is still true. So how many times will it execute? It will execute till 6 times. After 6 time, the condition is over, like j is equals to 6, so this condition is matched. It will execute it. This time the value of j was increased to 7, condition gets failed, and it came out of this for loop, came here, it executed this line. This line says create a new line. You can see now a new line will be created. When I press this, now you can see when I execute this, it is printing in the next line. Okay, again it will execute this loop 6 times. Okay, so it will print, it will keep on printing. Now condition is again something which will get false, come out, it will create a new line, execute, it will start executing in a new line, and like this it will work. I'll click back to resume, everything is executed. Okay, and I'll terminate all the sessions here, and if you click back on this, we are back. Is it clear how this multi for loops are working? Any questions here? Yes, Anil, you have any question, or you find how they're working? Okay, fine. So this is how multiple for loops work. Please remember this logic, because when we'll be working on, see, many scenarios will be working on where you'll be using this multi for loop, especially the scenarios like uh, iterating over a HTML table, or iterating over a normal uh, Excel sheet. There you can observe that the data stored in tables like HTML table or Excel sheet or any other table, there the data is in form of rows and columns. So we'll be using the same logic. Okay, exactly same logic will be used here. The only thing will be we need to calculate this number of rows and number of columns that you can do through Selenium. So we'll learn that. Okay, now I'll give you some more examples on this multiple for loops. We can do one thing. We can try one more scenario to execute, and then maybe we'll proceed with others. Okay, so here in this, we have created this pattern, right? I'll I'll show you many, like in assignments I'll give you many more patterns, but here I want just one more pattern to explain you. Okay, and logic you'll tell me, I'll just write. See, I want a pattern where you can see a left sided triangle is getting created. Okay. See, I know these patterns you might have studied in your college, okay, and they used to come in assignments. But trust me, why I'm teaching you is the reason is that the same logic you will be using in your when you have to deal with tables in Selenium. That's the only purpose of teaching this, because I know you don't have to give any exam now, but I want you to be good at multiple for loops and normal for loops as well. You can just judge any pattern whatever you get in your real-time projects. That's the reason I'm teaching this particular topic, and this will help you a lot when we'll reach to tables. Okay, so this is the pattern we want to print. Look at it. See, can you observe anything here? See, here we observed a pattern that it is like a rectangle or a, a square kind of thing. Look at this. Do we get any pattern? Let's talk about in terms of rows and columns. Do you observe any pattern here?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So I'll tell you the pattern and see if you can observe. Just look at the first row. How many stars are there in this? One. Look at the second row. How many stars are there? Two. That means whatever is the number of row, that many stars are there. For first row we have 1 star, for second row we have 2 stars, third row 3 stars, fourth row 4 star, and so on, right? So it means if in my code, if in this for loop here, I just copy this logic. Yeah, I'll copy this logic here, or let me do one thing. Let me create another class for this. Copy. I'll say pattern 2. Okay, here number of rows I'm saying 5. Number of columns I don't need now, because number of columns are actually equal to whatever is the value of I here. Let me execute it and then I'll show you whether it's working fine or not. I mean, let's see if we get the same pattern. We got the same pattern. Now let's see what I did. Okay, see, I just told you that in this pattern I observed one thing, that the number of stars in a row is equals to how many stars are there, what row number it is. For first row I have 1 star, for second row I have 2 stars, for third row I have 3 stars, 4, 5, and so on. Okay, so what I did here, when I am starting this for loop, I said number of rows because I want how many rows are there. For each row, I'm executing my for loop only till that row number. I'll put a breakpoint here. Let's execute in debug mode. You can see there is a variable number of rows equal to 5. When I execute this statement, I is incremented, like I is initialized with 1. Okay. Now for I equal to 1, see how many time I'm going to execute this. Here the variable, another variable is created, that is j. The value of j is 1. Look at the condition. This I is 1, this j is 1, and we have a condition less than equal to. That means this condition is again true, and as this condition is true, the statement will execute. A star is printed. Now if I press F6, you can see that j was incremented to 2, condition got failed, it came out of this for loop, will create a new line, and this time I is, when I execute this, I will change to 2. Now look at this for loop. This for loop now will again start from j equal to 1 and will go till j less than equal to 2. That means this particular for loop will now be executed 2 times. When I execute it, you can see one star is printed, another star is printed. As soon as I execute it again, a new line is created. Now the value of I changes to 3. This will be 3. This will start from, you can see this has started from 1. Now the statement will be executed 3 times. So 3 star are printed. Next value will change to 4. I'll just resume. You can see that it has printed 4 times. Okay. Again, I'll press F6. This value will change to 5. I'll resume it. It'll execute the value 5 times and so on. Okay. Just forget about this. It is something related with an environment variable. Don't worry about it. Clear? Any questions here? So like this, you have to just observe the pattern and then execute it. Okay. Like this, I'll not execute the code, but I just want you to identify the pattern here. So I'm printing 1 star, then I'm printing 3 stars, then I'm printing 5 stars, I'm printing 7 stars. Can you observe any pattern here? Yes, Anil, what is the pattern you observe?
After the first star is printed, every time there is an increment by 2.
Yes, so can I say like it's in the first row it's 1, in second row it's 3,
Mhm.
5,
Yep.
7. That means an odd number is getting printed,
Yes.
right? So what I'll do in my code when I have to write it, okay, here when I say 2 star this minus 1, if I say something like this, and let me just quickly execute it, you will observe whatever I asked is printing 1 star, then 3 stars, then 5 stars, 7 stars, and then one more, that is 9 stars are getting printed. So what I did, I just changed my pattern to adjust accordingly. What I said, see, it's just a simple mathematics actually. Here what I'm saying is whatever is the value of I, multiply it with 2, so it will always be an even number, and then subtract 1 from it. Okay, so probably what I'll do, I'll just take this out, this pattern, I'll take it out and put here another variable int call, and put this pattern here, and we'll change this to call, and now I'll run it in debug mode and let's see how it works. Okay, so I'll execute this in debug mode now, and here I am. Okay, when I press F6, I is incremented by 1. So the value of I here is 1. 1 into 2, that is 3. 3 minus 1, that is 2. So that means if I execute this, look at what is the value of an in column variable. The column variable has one value. How? I was 1. 1 into 2, 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this value will be 1. Okay. So here the value will be 1. Only one time this for loop will be executed. I move up. Okay, this time the value of I will be 2. Here you can see the value is 2. 2 to the 4. 4 minus 1, 3. That means the value, when I execute this, the value of call will be 3. Okay, here you can see the value is 3. Now this will be executed 3 times. Okay, 3 times it has printed. Next time the value of I will be 3. Here the column value will be 5, and you can see that a pattern is created. I'll put resume, again a resume, again a resume, and it has executed 5 times. Okay, I'll come back to my Java perspective, and you can see in the console this pattern is printed. Okay, any questions, anyone? Like this, there are many patterns which you can try to execute to learn this pattern printing. Okay, and once you can print something like this, it's the you can say the most difficult one, I'll say. If you can print something like this, as Priyanka has also mentioned, if you can print a pattern like this, okay, something like this, it's like a pyramid, okay, full pyramid, it's there. If you can print something like this, that means you can write any thing. I mean, you can create anything, any pattern. Okay, so I'll give you all the assignments. First three are already done. I'll give you other assignments. The last one will be this pattern only, that is the pyramid. Try all of them and see if you can do. If not, I'll help you in that. Okay, so in on next Saturday after the class, in the doubt clearing session, we'll discuss all the patterns if anyone will have any problem in any of the pattern. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Okay, so we have discussed about this. Let's see few more scenarios on for loop. Why I'm stressing more on for loop? Because this is something which you have to be good at. Okay, this is one topic from Java which I want everyone to be good at. Otherwise, things will get complex. Okay, so I'll explain one more scenario and then we'll move on to why. So let's create another, and I'll call a method average of numbers. Okay, so I'll give you one example of how to find average. Okay, let's say here I have some numbers with me. Okay, uh, one more thing, those. Okay, let's do one thing. This scenario I'll probably explain you once. Uh, okay, let's do one thing. Let's write a scenario. Average of first 5 or first 10 natural numbers. Okay, so I hope you all remember the syntax or method, I mean the formula to calculate the average. The formula is sum of all numbers, sum of 1 plus 2 plus 3, so on up to 10. Okay, and then divided by whatever is the number. Okay, so if it is n, then divide by n. So this is the formula to calculate average value, right? So let's start this for loop. Okay, now I'll start this for loop. First I'll calculate the sum. What I'll say int I equal to 1, then I less than equal to some number. That number I'll create as a variable. So let's say I'm putting the value from the start as 10. Then I'll say here I plus plus. Okay, now in this, first of all, like to reach to average, first of all I'll calculate sum. So here I'll say int, another variable I'll create and I'll call it sum. Now here I'll say sum equal to sum plus I, and I'll initialize my sum with a value as 0. See what I'm doing. I want to calculate sum of first 10 numbers. So I just created one variable with the name sum and assigned a value 0 to it. Okay. Then I started this for loop. Okay. Here I'm starting with int I equal to 1, a variable I created with name I equal to 1. Then I'm going I less than equal to number, whatever is the number. Then I'll say I plus plus. And then next statement I'm saying sum equal to sum plus I. So let's see how it calculates sum for us. So I'll put a debug mode here. We'll run it in debug. You can see there are two variables. One is number, which has a value 10, and this sum, which has a value as 0. Okay, I like start executing it. See, the value of I is 1. This condition is true. Number is 10, I is 10, I is 1. That means this condition is true. It will execute it. Look at what happened. The value of sum was changed to 1. How? Earlier, the value of sum was 0. Okay, let me do one thing. Let's execute this again. Okay, so see, the value of sum is 0. So as soon as I press F6, the value of I changes to 1. Look at the value of sum. Sum is 0. Look at the value of I is 1. When I execute this statement, 0 plus 1, that will be 1. 1 will be put into sum. You can see the value of sum is now changed to 1. Here also and here also. The value of sum is changed to 1. Now I will become 2. Sum was 1. I is 2. That means a sum 3 will be inserted. In the next, you can see that the value of sum was 3. I was 3. 3 plus 3, 6 is added. Similarly, in the next statement, I will be 4. Now 4 plus 6 will be 10. So it will execute 10. And so on. So you can see for with each statement, I is 6. Now 6 plus 21, it will become 27. Sorry, 28. Then it will become 36. Then it will become 45. Now I'll become 10. Value will become 55. And you can see the sum. Okay, it has terminated it, so everything will be gone. But yeah, after this for loop, I can simply say sum is sum. When I execute this code, you can see the total sum 55 is printed. Okay, so let's calculate the average now. So what will be the average? Average will be, I'll calculate the average here. Here I'll define one more variable. Let's say average. And after this complete for loop, I'll say average equal to sum divided by what? Number, right? And I'll print the average value. Let's execute it. So you can see average is 5. Why 5? Why not 5.5? Anyone can think here? Because 555 divided by 10 will always be 5.5. Then why does printing 5? Can anyone think why it is printing 5 here, not 5.5? Perfect answer, Priyanka. Why? Because the variable we have defined for average is int. Okay. If you are defining like here you created the variable as int, so whatever will be the value of uh, here, whatever value here will come, it will trim off everything after decimal. Okay, it will not print, it will not store 5.5, it will store only 5 value. Okay, if I change this int to double and execute the same code, see now, uh, okay, 5.5, it should print 5.555. Okay, let me execute it in debug mode and we'll see. I'll put here, I'll remove the toggle point. So the value of this is 55 and the value of okay, so the value of sum is 55 and the value of number is 10. When I execute it, see here it is 55, here it is 10. The average is 5.5. Okay, just give me a second. Let me change the sum also to double. Let me try now. Okay, now it is 5.5. Okay, so the reason is I'll explain just a second. Let me come back. Okay, so the reason is because this when we were calling here, we were dividing an integer with an integer. Okay, so in this case it always results in an integer. Okay, so what I did, I just changed my sum as well to double. Okay, now it has a value as 55.0, and then when you divide it with an integer now, so a double divided with an integer now will result in a double value. So we got 5.5. Okay, any questions here? Okay, so that's how you will apply logics in this. Yes, Anil, you have a question.
Yeah. Here when you declare the integer as sum, so that means whenever you use any data type for calculations, they all have to be the same data type.
No, see, uh, it depends on how things work. Like in case of sum, if I keep it integer only, it will work fine, right? But in case of average, as average value can be in decimals as well, so then we have to take care. So in that case, if I divide an integer value with another integer value, that will result in integer only. So what I did, I just changed my sum variable, so, sorry, yeah, sum variable to double. A double value can store integer value as well, but in form of double only. So here you can see the value is 55.0.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like the yesterday I was telling you that you can store smaller values in bigger containers, but other way around is not true. We discussed that in long variable you can store integer. Similarly, in double you can store integers. Okay, but in integers you cannot store double. So that's the
Yeah.
reason
Okay.
that
Understood.
why in the average that time it was not like, even if you'll change this average now to int, it will trim off that dot for you. Okay. So there is a topic
Yep.
known
Thank
as
you.
typecasting. There I'll discuss it in detail, that how you can upcast and downcast, something known as boxing and unboxing, but that will come in later stage.
ले जाओ अब तो तुम ले जाओगे उपमा और तो लेके
Punav,
लो ना
Punav, you have a question?
यहाँ
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Okay. So that's all about for loops. I hope you understand few scenarios in with for loop. Okay. I'll give you some scenarios to practice with for loop in the assignment. But now let's have a break for 7 minutes and then we'll start with while loop and do while loop. Okay. So let me start the timer. Okay, so we can continue now. Any questions before I move on to while loop? Okay, so let's come to the next loop, and that is while loop. So I'll create a class here, call it while loop. We'll keep this public static void main checked. Okay, so let's first talk about the syntax, and then we'll talk about what is the difference between for loop and while loop, and then we'll also talk about uh, why you need while loop when you have a for loop with you. Okay, so let's talk about the syntax first. So the syntax is while, then in this round bracket you'll put certain condition. Okay, till the time this condition is true. Okay, let's say I created a variable int I equal to maybe 1. Okay, I'll say till the time I less than equal to 10, execute the statement. uh, I can say I equal to I. Okay, and then here I'll say increment I with 1. Okay, so in this I have just mimic whatever was there in the for loop. If you look at the for loop, there we had three things. One was initialization, second was a condition, and third was increment and decrement. So with this statement, I have actually mimicked for loop. See how in the first line at the line number 7, you can see I have I equal to 1. That is my declaration and initialization. Then in line number 8, I have my condition. I is less than equal to 10. That is one condition I have. And then I'm writing some statements, and then after everything is executed, I'm initializing the value of I. Okay, so let's see how it works. I'll just execute it, and you can see exactly same it has executed. Printed value from 1 to 10. Okay, so clear? Any questions? Okay, now uh, let's look at one more scenario, and probably then you'll learn about the benefit of using while loop over for loop. Okay, see what I'm doing is I'm trying to create one example, and that is sum of digits of a number. Sum of digits of a number. Okay, see, again, it's a very simple example which I'm taking, and was used in your your college time for your exams. But try to get out the try to take out the logic from whatever I'm going to write now. Let's say I have a number, this. I want to get its sum. So how do you get its sum? It will be 7 plus 4 plus 8 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8. This is what you want. You need a sum of all these digits, right? So how do you get it? To get to sum up all the digits, first of all, you want to get a digit uh, every time, right? And how do you get a digit? So just recall one of the mathematics function, arithmetic function, that let me just reduce these digits. Let me change it to 4. Yeah. Now just recall arithmetic operator, one of the arithmetic operator, that was 7483. If I take a modulus of it with 10, what it will give? Will it give me the remainder? And what will be the remainder? Remainder will be the last digit you see here. 7483, when taken a modulus with 10, it results in a digit 3. Okay, then what I'll do, I'll divide this 7483 with 10. When I divide it, that time what I'll get 743, 748. Why? Because when you divide an integer with another integer, it always results in an integer. It will result 748. The same thing we saw in our examples of average. If I keep on repeating this, I'll keep on getting the digits and my number keep on reducing. Now if in the next statement I'll do this 748, if I take a modulus of this with 10, I'll get what I'll get 8, and when I'll divide this 748 with 10, when I divide this I'll get 74, right? So this way I can repeat this logic. But do you know how many times you have to repeat this? You don't know how many digit this number can have. This can have a 4 digit, this can have 10 digit, this can have n digit. So when you have a scenario where you don't know how many times you want to execute your loop, that time will always use this do while loop. Uh, Sorry, that time will always use this while loop, because here I don't know how many conditions are there. So I'll show you with the example. So what I'll do, I'll take one int number. This number can be anything. Okay, any number it can be. Then I'll start my while loop. I'll say till number is not equal to 0. Okay, I'll explain you, just give me a minute. Here I'll define one more variable, int sum, and let's say sum is 0. Here I'll say number equal to number. Just let me write the code. Even I'm writing it after long, so I have to just think of the logic again. Seven plus 8, 15 plus 7, 22. It should print 22. Let's see if it is printing. Perfect. See what I did. In this, uh, in this logic, I told you that here what we are going to do is, whatever our number is, first we'll take its modulus with 10. What we'll get the last digit. Okay, so what I did, here is my number. I'll just change it to any number. Okay, here is my number. I initialized one variable with name sum. Sum is equals to 0, and I initialize one more variable with value remainder. You can initialize this also with 0, not any problem. Then I started this while loop while this number is not equal to 0. See, in my logic, what I'm doing, I'm always dividing my number with 10. Every time this number is getting reduced by one digit. Next time it will be 74 divided by 10, that is 7. And next it will be 7 divided by 10, that will be 0. So till the time my number is not equal to 0, keep on executing this code. Then remainder is equals to number modulo 10. So this gives me the last digit every time. Then I'm adding it in the sum and I'm dividing the number by 10. Let's run it in debug mode. Right click, debug as Java application. Look at this now. Here, see, the sum is 0, remainder value is 0. When I execute this line, this condition is true because number is this value, it's not equal to 0. condition is true, see, a new variable is created with remainder and the value is 5. See the digit. Digit is something which has a last digit as 5. So what happened here was my number was this. When it divided by 10, it resulted in 5. So modulo of this is 5. Sum was 0. You added 5. Sum become 5. Then number was divided by 10. Look at the number. Last digit is gone now. When I execute it again, the complete logic, you can see that the value of this is again reduced by 1. Look at the sum, look at the remainder. When I execute the complete code again, you can see one digit again gone. Okay, like this, the shortcut for resume is F8. So as soon as I keep on executing F8, you can see digits are getting reduced by 1. 78 now, 7 now, 0. Now the condition is true, it will come out and will print. Okay, so here you can see it has printed the sum. Sum is 49. So this is how you can use while loop. So what is the main purpose of using while loop? When you don't know how many digits are, how many iteration you want to execute. In my for loop, in the for loop, you can see I knew from the start how many iteration it is going to execute. It depends on certain condition. Here in this scenario, this number can be a 2-digit number, it can be a 10-digit number, it can be any digit number. Whatever comes in the range of long, that number you can add. If you want a bigger, you can change it to long as well. Okay, so I just executed the code. uh, how many times? I was not aware of how many times, so I just put a condition. See, there is no increment decrement in this. So that's when while loop is used. If somebody asks you in interviews that what is the difference between for loop and while loop, or rather than that, the question comes when you'll use while loop and when you'll use for loop. So the simple answer is when the number of iterations are clear, that how many iteration you want to execute, use for loop. When you're not sure about the number of iteration, then you can use while loop. Clear? Any questions, anyone? So I'll give you some assignments across this while loop as well. There will be few scenarios which I'll be giving you as an assignment. You can practice them. Yes, Anil?
In this example, see the first when you see the first run of that while loop,
Mm-hmm.
you are dividing, you're finding the percentage of the number and also dividing it by 10,
It's not
right?
percentage. It's not percentage. It's modulus. Modulus means it whatever number is this number. When you divide it with 10, whatever will be the remainder, that is what you'll get here.
The remainder, right?
Yeah, remainder. So if the number is this, if you divide it by 10, so what you'll get at the last digit you'll get, that is 5.
Yep.
So that's how it is going. It's not percentage, it is modulus. Actually, I guess you left yesterday when I was discussing about this modulus.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? And this modulus is again an important arithmetic operator in your real-time projects. Okay, so I hope you understand why we use while loop. The only reason we use while loop is, or you can say the one of the important reason why I use while loop is when I don't know how many iteration I want to execute, and it depends on a condition. Okay, now I'll give you example of another wonderful loop we have, which is used very rarely, but many a times it comes as rescue for us. Okay, so I'll explain you what this loop is. This loop is do while loop. Okay, it is saying do something and then while a condition. Okay, so let's say I have a variable int x and I say the value is 10. Okay, I'm saying system.out.println print x, then I'm saying x minus minus, and here I'm saying while the condition is greater than 10. Okay, look at this scenario. Here in this loop, in this scenario, when I put this do while, the value of x is 10. Okay, when I execute it, you can see the condition is x greater than 10. Is the condition true? Okay, no, right? If I put the same scenario in my here that I have int x equal to value 10, uh, while x greater than 10, print x minus minus. Same logic I've written in while loop, and I've also written it in do while loop. Okay, same logic. Now I'll execute this first. Let's see what happens. It has not executed anything. Okay, because it checked that condition. The condition was x is the value of x is 10, and you're checking a condition that x is greater than 10. Okay, the condition does not match. When I tried to execute it, it like it just came out because the condition was not matched. Same logic, if I'll execute through do while, you will see that once this is printed. Okay, so what is the difference in while loop and do while loop? The difference is do while loop executes at least once. It does not matter whether the condition is true or not. It will execute at least once. Here you can see that this do is executed and then it checked the condition. But by the time it would have checked the condition, this was already executed. Sometimes in real-time projects, what happens is some of the condition come out when you execute something. Okay, maybe there is a drop down and you want to proceed only if the drop down has a specific value. Okay, now without executing a scenario, you cannot know that whether that value will be there or not. Okay, so in that case, what we'll do, instead of putting it in while or for loop, we put it in do while loop. We execute our scenario at least once, see if the condition is true. If yes, then it will execute other times. Otherwise, it will just come out. So that's how this do while loop works. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Okay, so this is there in do while. I'll try to give you an example of this. So the difference is that do while will execute at least once, no matter whether the condition is matching or not. Okay, so if the condition matches, like if I simply say if, till the time x is greater than 0, you can see it has executed the complete flow 10 9 8 7 6 5 4 2 1. As soon as x becomes 0, the condition was not true, it does not execute it further. Okay, one more area where people make mistakes is putting the conditions. Okay, sometimes instead of x greater than 0, you'll put x less than 0. See what will happen if I just change this to x less than 0. Okay, okay, it should be not less than. Okay, that time condition never got true. X greater than or I'll say x less than 10. Look at this condition. When I'll put this, what will happen? See, it is executing it for infinite time. Keep on executing it, because we put a condition which put it in infinite loop. This value will keep on decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, and your code will, so it will just like my processor also started heating up. Okay, but you can see that how it is done. So just remember, when you're putting the conditions, check it whether they are correct or not, because this is totally uh, this is a statement which keeps this this do while loop to execute for infinite. Okay, so that's all in loop statements. Now, any questions, anyone? Yes, Anil, you have any question?
Just quickly, out of these three loops, like for loop, do while, and this
While loop.
while loop,
Mhm.
how do we know when to use the loops, or as a coding standard going forward? How do we know which one to use?
Yeah, so that's what I told. When you know how many iterations you have fixed iterations. Okay, that time you'll go with for loop. That's for sure. Okay, when you know how many iterations, because for loop is the most easiest to understand. Okay, for us.
Okay,
And there is one more thing. There is one more loop actually available, but that I can only explain once. Uh, like I can only explain that for loop when we'll complete this array part. Okay, so just after 5 minutes I'll start with arrays actually. Okay, that time I'll explain you one more for loop, and that is known as for each loop. Actually speaking, that is the most used one for us. Okay, but if there is a requirement, when you know how many iterations are there, then we'll use the normal for loop. When we don't know how many iterations are there, then we'll use while loop. Very rarely we use do while. Do while will we use when the requirement is that you want to execute your scenario at least once and then want to proceed, then want to check. Okay, but for Selenium, I'll say normal for loop and for each loop will be more than enough.
okay. So
Okay.
that means now each of these loops, do they have a lot of processing? Which one? Say
No,
for example,
for
if
for
you use
for
it in a
process for processing thing,
normal application,
mhm.
which one takes up more resources?
Nothing like that. You can use any one of the three. It's not something that you have to worry about resources in this case, because like
Okay, so there is no resource dependency or resource constraints
right,
when you
right,
use these
right,
loops.
right. There is nothing
Okay,
like that.
no, that's fine.
You can go ahead with any one of the three. Okay.
All right, that's all from me. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Anyone, any other questions here? Okay. So then I'll start with our next topic, and that is arrays. Arrays is a big topic. There are many things to discuss in arrays. Okay. So, but I'll start with it and give you some ideas, and will give you some indications as well, because in interviews from Java, one of the most hot topic for any interviewer is arrays. So I'll start with int arrays. Okay, we'll talk about many arrays, but let me start with int because it's the most famous one. Okay, now I have a question for you all. Now, this array you might be studying from your college time. Why you need array? Anyone quickly? You can unmute yourself if you want to answer. Okay, so the simple answer for having arrays is to store multiple values, okay, of same type. Or you can, like, if you have to give exam and of any type, you must have heard this statement: array is something which stores values of homogeneous data type. Homogeneous means same. Okay, so that's what actually this array is, which can store same type of values. Okay, so what happens is, in case of array, it creates a kind of I'll show you, just give me a minute. Okay, actually I forget to bring my that I have a notebook with which I can use my pen pencil, because for this I need a whiteboard. But I'll try to explain you. What happens is, whenever you define an array, it creates something like this. It creates a continuous memory space where you can store similar type of data in sequence. Okay, so I'll try to explain you each and everything here, but please pay attention to each and every point. Okay, whatever I'll say is important in arrays. So I'll start with the very basic one. First thing is that what is an array? Array is something which can store homogeneous data or same type of data. Like if you're creating an integer array, then you can store multiple int values here. So I'll start like this. I say int, then the syntax of creating an array is int, then a square bracket, then you can give it a name. Let's say I am giving a name as ARR. Okay, now this is declaration. This is declaration. Next, I'll assign values to it. There are two ways you can assign value to an integer array or any array. One is a static way, so it will be ARR. Then next, in the curly braces, I'll put the values like 4, 8, 7, 9, then any value 45, and then you close the curly brace, end. Okay, what happened? Okay, my bad. Uh, when you are using a static way, actually that time you have to put it in same line. In one line you have to put. Okay, so what is this? You are creating an integer array. This square bracket tells this tells your JVM or your system that it's an integer array. Int, then a square bracket, then give it any name. Okay, and then in the equal to, and then in the curly braces you are giving some values. So what is this? This means that you are creating an array of what size? The number of values you are putting here. So it creates an array of with the size equal to 5. Okay, so this is static declaration of an array, where you define an array or declare an array and put the values directly into it. Okay, if if let's say here I say I want to get any value, then how you'll get values? ARR, then put a square bracket, and in that give index. Now index is, see what happens when you put these values. So here how many values you are putting? 5 values. So it will create a memory location. It will create a memory location for you, which will have 5 storage places. Okay, and in every this, like here the first value is 4, so 4 will be added here, then 8 will be added in this, then next we'll have next we'll have 7, next we'll have 9, and next we'll have 45. So like this, an array will be created which will have these fixed values in it: 4, 8, 7, 9, 45. 4, 8, 7, 9, 45. Okay, when you have to fetch the value, then each box here will have an index, and index starts from 0. So this first one will have 0 index, second will have 2 index, 1 index, third will have 2, then 3, and then 4. Okay, so it will have, this first one will have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember this, the array index always starts with 0. So here when I say I want to print 3, then I'll execute it. What will get print? The value which is at third index. Third index will be, this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So when I execute it, you can see 9 is printed. Okay, so that's how it works. And sorry for this bad handwriting here, because I have to use this. In the next class, I'll bring my notebook where I can use my pen pencil and I can show you properly. Okay, I'll do it in next class. But yeah, for today, just bear this. So this is how it works. Now, to show you this in debug mode, let's see how it works. I'll put a debug mode here. Okay, and I'll say right click, debug as Java application. Look at the variables now. We have a variable ARR. If I just open this, you can see it has some index and corresponding to that it has some values. So when I'm using a static way of declaring values, whatever value comes at a particular index, that will get stored. So at 0th index 4 is stored, at first index 8 is getting stored, at second index 7 is getting stored, and so on. When I execute this statement here, ARR of 3, see, I'm hovering over ARR, then it is giving me all values. When I just hover over this 3, or you need to put it in some variable, then it will be clear. But yeah, you can see that it has executed 9. Clear? So what happens in static declaration, you will put everything in one line. Whatever value you will put in these two curly braces, okay, those will get stored, and the array will be created with same size. Okay. Now here I have put the square brackets with int. You can also put that with like my ARR. You can put like this as well. Okay, when I execute this in debug mode, you can see that two arrays are there, both. So both are correct way of defining. This is also a correct way. This is also a correct way. The one which you like, you can go with it. There is no right and wrong. Both are correct. Clear? Is the static declaration clear? So what you have to remember is that whenever you create an array with static declaration, that is in the same line you are assigning the values as well. That time whatever value you will pass, those an array of that size is created with the values there. How you can get values? ARR, then in square bracket you will put index. How index starts? Index always starts with a 0 value, so just remember it, whatever value you want. Let's say you want value at fourth value, that means you have to pass index as 3. If you want 10th value, you have to pass index as 9, and so on. Okay, so let's execute this code, terminate the session, and come back to Java. Okay, now this was the static declaration, right? Now I'll tell you the other one, that is where first you will create an array of some size and then put value to it. Okay, so here in this case you can see that I have created an array, my ARR. Okay, again you can use this way or this way, both will work fine. Then equal to, then I'm using a keyword called new. What this new keyword do? New keyword allocates memory to this array. How many memories? Memories size will be this. Here whatever number you will pass, that many memory locations will get allocate. Okay, so let's see it whether it's actually there or not. So what I'll do, what okay, let it be. I'll put a debug point here, run it in debug mode again. Look at this. Once I create an ARR is created, in the first way the values were already there. Now when I execute the next one, this one, you can see another array is created, and this array has those all those index, and all of them has values as 0, because for all the variables which you define in any method, they have a default value as 0. So we'll talk about this default value later, but for now you can just remember that, see, the memory location is allocated for all the indexes. So I just created an empty array here. I just created an empty array here. It allocated those spaces, and now whatever value you want you can put. So getting the difference here, values were assigned in the same line and the size was equal to the number of values. Here you're creating an array with some size, and later on you'll put values in it. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so I'll resume it, terminate the session, come back to Java mode. Okay, so here I'll start putting values now. So my ARR of, see, I told you that index starts with 0. So I'll start with 0 only. I'll put some value, let's say 56. I'll copy it, and one thing or also I'll just change the size to 5 so that I have to put less values. So here it will be index 1. Value you can change it to 57. Here I'll change value to 96. Index will be 2, here 3, and value will be 76. You can change it to 96, and here value will be 4. So I just assigned these values now. When I run it in debug mode again, you can see, look at this. This my ARR of error has 5 indexes available. It has 5 memory locations available. As soon as I execute each, it is start putting values in it. 56, 57, 96, 76, 96. One by one, all the values were assigned. Clear? How to get value? So getting a value is like simple. System.out.println my array. You want, let's say, something like 2. At second index, whatever is the value, print it. So you can see at second index, the value was 96. That is getting printed. Any questions till now? Because after this, I'm going to start one of the important topic, that how to iterate over an array. Okay, so I'm trying to show you through debug mode that how values are getting printed. So I hope this is clear to all, that how it works when you see it in debug mode. Okay, so what I'll do now, next I'll start with a for loop. I'll try to show you iteration of this over this array. Okay, so here we can use our for loop, normal for loop, which we have learned till now. So I say int I equal to, see this time I'm starting it from 0 because I know that index for any array always starts with 0. Then I'll say I less than, now I don't know what will be the size of this array. It can be 5, it can be anything, right? So what I'll do here, I'll define another variable, or you can directly put here as well, or let's put it here for now. I can say my ARR, then I'll put a dot, and then there is a variable called length. What this ARR dot length do? It gives me the size of the array I have defined. Then I'll say I plus plus. Okay, so what this my array dot length will have, let's put it in a variable so that I can show you in debug mode. Int size of array. Okay, and here I'll simply say system.out.println and print my ARR of, in the square bracket I'll put I. Okay, let's look this complete code in debug mode. Here I put debug mode over here. Let's run it. See this ARR, my ARR, it has these values. Okay, now when I execute this particular line, here you can see that my ARR is the array. When I execute this particular line, you can see that the size of array is 5. So from where this value came? ARR dot length. That means this array will go from 0 till 5. Okay, and I have not put equal to sign, I have put less than. So that means it will go from 0 to 4. So here a variable is created with size of array as 5. We'll execute this. Look at this. It has printed 99, sorry, what here? 56 here. Okay, why? Because ARR of I is 0. So ARR of 0 was printed. Okay, next time when I execute, this time the value of I is 1. So that means my ARR 1 is executed. My ARR 1 is 57. That means here the value 57 might have printed. Okay, so that's how iteration over a for loop works. I mean, iteration of an array using for loop works. Clear? Any questions, any doubt? Okay, so I'll just resume, close it, come here. Yeah, okay. So this is about the normal for loop. Uh, Java also provides us one more loop, and that will be the last topic for today. Okay, Java also provides us with one more loop, and I'll call that as enhanced for loop. Okay, we'll keep this public static void main checked here. Okay, so it provides us one more enhanced loop, one more way. So I'll here define one int array. Let's say int in the square bracket. I'll call it as ARR equal to new int with some size, let's say 5. Okay, and I'll put values in it. ARR of 0. I'll put some value 78. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll copy it from the other one. Okay. Now that enhanced for loop, how it works. Let's first see the syntax. Okay. One more thing, why I'm teaching you this new enhanced for loop. One of the reason is that which I personally have observed is that people make mistake putting up the condition. Here, many a times people put condition like less than equal to, or people forget to put something. Okay, or we are not sure about the size. So here we have to calculate the size separately. So for all of these things, Java provides us a way which is known as enhanced for loop, or we can also call it as for each loop. What we do in that case is we put a for loop for int, okay, and then a data type, any temporary variable. Let's say temp, then colon, give the name of the array, okay, and none. Now here I'll simply say temp. Now what is it? Let me explain. What we are doing in this enhanced for loop is whatever array we have, I want to iterate over each value of that array. Okay, so I have this array my arr. I want to iterate over each value of that array, my arr of 0, my arr of 1, my arr of 2, and so on. Okay, I want to iterate them one by one. So we'll use this enhanced for loop. In that case, I created a temporary variable int temp. Now values from this my arr one by one will come into this temp. Okay, so for the first iteration, whatever will be the value of my arr of 0, that will come into temp, and you can use that value. In second iteration, whatever will be the value of arr of 1, that will come to this temp, and so on. So that's how it works. So you don't have to calculate the size, you don't have to worry about whether you'll put a less than equal to or what. You don't have to initialize, increment, nothing. Whatever is your array, to iterate over each value, we'll just put this temp. Okay, so this is the syntax for enhanced for loop. Okay, let's see it in debug mode. Probably then it will be more clear. So I'll just put a breakpoint, right click, debug as Java application. So here you can see that array is there, my arr. It has all the values assigned. Now, when I execute this if 6, you can see that a temporary variable is created. What it has is, as it's a first iteration, it will have a value whatever is there at my arr of 0. So the value at my arr of 0 is put into temp. Temp has a 56 value. It executed this, 56 is printed. Next, temp is gone. As soon as this for loop ends, temp variable is diminished. That's how the logic is. When you execute it next, see the value of temp. Temp has 57. What is 57? The value at first index. As it was the second iteration, it put the value whatever was there at the first index. And it will keep on doing this till it ends. Okay, clear how this enhanced for loop works? Anyone, any questions here? Yes, Anil?
Just a quick question. Since you've been taking this array
Mm-hmm.
thing, when or how often do we use this temp array? I mean, is it used in every logic as a standard of coding?
Yes. No, I mean the name temp you're saying, name can be anything, X, Y, Z,
No, no,
A,
no.
B, C,
The
D.
concept of array. The concept of array.
Yeah, concept of array and this enhanced for loop, it is going to be used like n number of times. Okay, wherever we had to store anything, we'll be using this for. There are few more data types we have, uh, like uh, like we studied about arrays. Going forward, we'll also have lists, linked list, array list. Then we have sets, queues, maps. So all of these are type of data structure. All of these are used to store same type of data and multiple data. Okay, every one of them has some features, one or other feature we have. Okay, so as and when I'll proceed, I'll talk about features of others. But for now, just remember that when we are going to use arrays, when we'll have same type of data, we'll put that into an array, and then we can proceed with it.
Okay, all right. So
Okay.
it is part of a normal coding standard to use
Yes.
the logic of array, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, Yadav, you have a question for each loop. You're Rakesh Yadav, right? Okay, so you have a question that for each loop we can't use any condition. So using for loop for each loop, which one is better? Why can't you put any condition? You can put any condition here. See, there the condition was. See, look at the condition. Condition is the size of the array. Here, that condition is internal only. Okay, other than that, everything you can use. Like just the way you iterate is different. Otherwise, everything you can control using this. But yeah, if you talk about uh, complex logic, sometimes this enhanced for loop fails. That time we have to go back to our normal loop. But if you have an array and you want to iterate over it, this one will take place over the other one. This enhanced for loop will take uh, place over the other one. Reason being, there are many chances of making mistake. Here there is nothing. Everything is straightforward. Just the syntax and proceed. Okay, and this for loop you will appreciate more when you uh, and this for loop you'll appreciate more when we'll talk about other data structures like lists, array list, linked list, sets, maps. That time this loop will make more sense. But yeah, simple recommendation, when you have to iterate over each value of an array, then enhance for loop is the best one. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? Okay. So guys, do you want me to end here or can we continue for another 15-20 minutes? Because if you want, I can continue. Otherwise, from next class onwards, anyways, I'll have 3 hours of class. Okay. So people who want to continue, please say yes. Others, I'll take no. Should I continue? Yes, no. I have not got any answer. Yes, no, maybe. Okay, so most of you are saying no. Fine. Fine. We can end our class here. And in the next class, I'll continue with some of the examples for this arrays. We'll also talk about string arrays. We'll also talk about integer arrays little bit more. Many scenarios, many examples we'll see. Okay, there are few interview questions which were personally asked to me in many interviews. I'll discuss that in the next class. Also, after arrays, we'll start with actual Java, because till now we have covered uh, whatever we have covered. These are basics of programming which will remain same for all the programming language, be it Java, C Sharp, Python, whatever language you go. Only syntax might change, but most of the time even the syntax remains same. Okay, from the next class onwards, I'll start with the next topic, that is classes and objects. Then we'll talk about methods. We'll start with OOPS concept. Okay, and the next complete 3 hours of class, I'll discuss complete, I mean this much Java only, and will make us to a level where we can start Selenium. So next Saturday we'll cover Java, and next Sunday, I mean coming Sunday, we'll talk about Selenium. Okay, and one more question I had was that in October there is a long vacation, right? We have off on first, second, and I guess yeah, second October is also off. So and 30th is also off because of the Shera in India. So uh, like, is it possible to have class on 30th, first, second? I mean 29th, 29th I'll not be able to take. Yeah, let's take it on Saturday and Sunday only. Leave it. Okay, maybe on Monday we'll discuss we can have or it or not. I'll send a mail if I'll get a majority yes, then I'll continue with having a class on Monday as well. Otherwise we'll have class on Saturday and Sunday. Okay guys, so that's the end of the class. Now if anyone wants to discuss anything with me personally, do let me know. Yeah, Priyanka, I'll send you a mail of assignment. So I'll upload that in, like the assignment in G Drive, maybe today evening or tomorrow morning by the max. Recording I'll share within 3 hours, but the assignment actually I have to prepare properly. The old assignment which I have missed some of these scenarios, so I'll add all of them. Maybe today evening or tomorrow morning by latest I'll upload. Okay, and Yadav, you are asking about the timings of Monday. We'll discuss in next class maybe. I'll be more sure whether I'll have a off that day or not. Okay. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks everyone for joining. If you have anything to discuss, I'm still here. Please unmute and we can discuss. Okay, one more thing. I'll be sending you, like this was the third class for us, so all the free classes are done. Okay, if you want to continue with the classes, I'll send you the payment link. You can submit the payment and send me a screenshot on the email. Also, whosoever will done with the payments from next class onwards, uh, I'll be sharing all the recordings with them only, and I'll also create a WhatsApp group so that we can discuss any problem as and when we'll face. Okay, instead of waiting for the next class. So I'll create a this WhatsApp group and we'll discuss problems there. Fine. Okay, thanks everyone then. See you next weekend and we'll continue with actual Java, that is classes and objects.